Welcome to the Heartbeat for Hire podcast. I'm your host, Lyndsay Dowd. My goal is to help train leaders and sales organizations how to manage and deliver results with empathy, compassion, and kindness. Let's get started. Greetings and welcome to this episode of Heartbeat for Hire. I have a phenomenal guest to bring you today. Lex Gillette is a globally recognized Paralympian who competes primarily in the long jump. He is a 5-time Paralympic medalist, 4-time world champion, and the current world record holder in the long jump with a leap of 22 feet and 1 inch. Robbed of his sight during his childhood, Lex Gillette, with the aid of his mother, was determined not to fall victim to a world consumed by darkness. His athletic talents have been featured by ESPN, Sports Illustrated, USA Today Sports, and People magazine. He is a 2015 inductee in the ADN Hall of Fame. As a keynote speaker, Lex's message is his audience is to see more than just the physical world in front of them. Prepare to be inspired and motivated to learn who you really are and how to become the person you desire to be. It's what Lex does. He teaches people to see. Lex, welcome.
Oh man, I need to bring you on the roll with me and have you as my dedicated intro person. That's amazing.
Time. So I know a little bit about your story and it's an amazing one. Could you share a little more of your background?
So I started having issues with my eyesight around the age of 8 years old, and just literally one of those things where you come home and you go through your normal routine. Started noticing that evening that my sight was blurred and faint for no reason at all. My mom had taken me to the doctor, and that's when we discovered I was suffering from retina detachments. So that led to a string of 10 operations that I had in that 1 year alone when I was 8 years old. And after the 10th one, doctors basically said that there wasn't anything else they could do to help my sight. And they said I would most likely become blind.
That had to be really devastating for both you and your mom. How did you reconcile that? How did you figure out, I'm not going to let this stop me?
I think a lot of it was my mom and being able to leverage her strength and, that mommy strength, that mommy power. And also she's someone who, she has glaucoma, so she deals with a visual impairment herself,
Right.
albeit she has usable sight. So I didn't have any usable sight anymore. It had gotten to the point where I couldn't see anything, but having someone there who served as an example, and I could see her in her role as a mom, as a businesswoman, as just a person who doesn't give up, that really became the example for me. And I was able to follow behind her and just see what needed to be done, how it needed to be done. And yeah, it was just a really good example. And after I was able to successfully, I guess, grieve, if you will, go through that grieving process of once being able to see and then now not being able to see, it was her showing me literally what it was that I could do. So connecting me to different resources and programs and tools and technology. So now I was able to see that, hey, I may not be able to read print books anymore, but I can read Braille, or I can read books on the computer with the speech software, and I can navigate around by myself by using a cane. So it was her finding all of these things for me, and that eventually helped to shift my mindset.
I think that's so important, having an advocate in your corner, somebody who's going to recognize there's other ways to function, there's other ways to survive. And, this podcast is all about stories of resilience, and there's no better example than yours. But looking at your mom, what an adjustment you all had to make, right? You lost your sight, and as you said, you're grieving that loss. But for her, she's also got dreams for you. So she had to make that shift emotionally and mentally of, okay, I'm not going to let him be sad. I'm not going to let him wallow. I'm going to, give him everything I can to make him have a great life. That was such an adjustment you probably all had to survive.
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. But again, I think that having someone there who has been through it, and I think you hit the nail on the head. She had aspirations and dreams for me as well, as a parent would. Her biggest thing was, at the end of the day, I just want you to be able to survive on your own. Right. I want you to be independent and go into the world and be able to do the things that you should do, because quite frankly, when you step out of this home, there are going to be a lot of people who believe that you should and should not do certain things, and they're going to believe that you can and cannot do certain things, and it's all because you're blind. But I don't want you to be bound by other people's expectations and opinions, because a lot of times they are inaccurate, and
Right.
I want you to go after the things that you believe, and I'm going to make sure that I can place in your path the things and the people that you need to reach that point.
So how did you make the shift from, I mean, you're 8, so obviously your Olympic career hadn't even begun. So like, how did you learn that athletics was going to be your thing? How did that start? And how did you gain the confidence to start doing this stuff? Because I mean, my son's in track and he's like a nervous wreck. They're making him do varsity and he's a freshman and he's like, Mom, I'm terrible.
Oh, he's good.
He's
He
just
must be
fine.
amazing.
But
um
talk about that.
yes, so prior to me losing my sight, I used to play rec league baseball. So I was out there, tossing the ball around out in the outfield, hitting the ball, things like that. I was swimming as well. After I lost my sight, it became a matter of being able to gain that confidence again, and also learn that there were opportunities out there. So my mom found adapted sports and rec options for me, and I learned about things like goal ball, which is a sport played by blind and visually impaired athletes. Um, there's also beat baseball, which is a form of baseball that's played by those who are blind and visually impaired. The ball beeps, the bases make a buzzing sound, so you're able to distinguish between the two objects. Um, and I used to wrestle as well. So my mom's side of the side of the family is the athletic side. I have the athletic genes, thank God. And once I got into high school, I had a teacher who noticed that I was pretty athletic, and he discovered that through a fitness test that we all had to participate in. Just to note, too, my mom kept me in public school and mainstream school. So all I really know is participating alongside my
Like
sighted
athletes, yeah.
peers, and we had about 1,500 kids in our high school at that time. One of the activities in that fitness test that we all had to participate in, it was standing long jump, stand in one spot and jump
Right.
forward as far as you can. I just so happened to be the best standing long jumper in my freshman class, and one of the top 3 jumpers in the entire school. So at that time, I could stand in one spot and jump 10 feet forward.
Lex, that's insane.
People,
That's
and so
amazing.
people were like, "We've never seen this before," and I was like, "I haven't either." But Mr. Whitmer, told me about the Paralympics. He said you can travel the world, you can break records, you can win gold medals, you can represent Team USA. This is how we're going to do it. In the Paralympics, they don't have standing long jump; they have running long jump. That was already frightening,
Oh
to
God.
run as fast as you can without seeing anything
Right.
and propel yourself through the air. So he said that since you can't see anything, I'm going to stand at the takeoff board. I'm going to clap and yell so that you know which direction to run. You can listen to the sound of my voice. We're going to determine how many steps that you need to take. I want you to count your strides, and at the right stride, the right step, you'll jump, soar through the air, land in the sand. And again, it was very frightening in the beginning, but as you know, how people show up and meet us where we are is really critical
Right.
in life in so many different ways. And the fact that I had someone who believed in me, someone who understood my experiences and my background, and took that information to create this alternative, that was a key to a lot of me seeing my potential, and also helping me unleash that potential into the world.
Oh, I love that you said that. And, to me, this is such a core tenet of leadership. And when you give people that space to do the job they were hired for, and you say, I've got your back and I'm here for you and I support you, first of all, it makes failure less scary.
Mm.
But it also means you're willing to take risks, you're willing to try harder. And what a beautiful way you painted that picture. I mean, you talked so clearly about what I try and do as a leader, and giving my teams that room to do it, to do everything. And You've done it. So, okay, so you figured out the long jump. You became a Paralympian. How long between the time you were training to the time you won your first medal?
We started in 2001, I believe. So dating myself, I was still a teenager at the time, and Mr. Whitmer had taken me to the sports camp up in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And we were at Western Michigan University, and there the camp was specifically for athletes who were blind and visually impaired. That's where I learned about all of the other events in track and field. I learned about things like wrestling and how they adapt that for people who are blind and visually impaired. So I learned about a wide range of sports. And from there, I won. Basically, the camp is like that Monday through Friday or whatever it is. You choose a number of events to learn about, to participate in, and on that last day, you are in a friendly competition against those who were also in that event during the week. I chose running long jump. I won the competition at the end of the week, which was amazing because there was this guy who had been attending the camp for years upon years upon years, and he's like the Michael Jordan of
The
this camp. And
OG
I
of the
just so
camp,
happened to,
right?
oh yeah, it was like a David and Goliath situation. So I fortunately slayed the giant, came back home, joined my high school track team when I was a junior, so 2002, and from there I went to my first games in 2004. So it was a 2-3 year time period, which I guess to hear myself say that out loud is that's pretty cool as well.
Pretty
You have a lot of
amazing.
people who train for years upon years and who don't get that opportunity. So yeah, it was pretty quick. And
I mean,
I'll tell you this also, the name of my high school was Athens Drive High School and still is to this day. So it was kind of cool that I went from Athens Drive High School to my first Paralympics, which were in Athens, Greece.
oh, I
Yeah,
love that. I mean, but what a nice combination of natural ability, coaches that had confidence in you, the tools you needed to succeed, and look at what a short time frame that was
yeah.
for you to see success. So, I mean, I don't imagine Mr. Whitmer has been your coach all of this time. You got other coaches along the way?
Yeah, so he was a teacher. He was my visually impaired teacher, and he also coached some teams at the high school. So once I had gotten to the point of making it to the Paralympics, there was a natural separation, if you will.
Yeah.
And he had to, he had a family and stuff like that. So of course he couldn't travel around the world with me, but he ensured that I was able to find the resources that I needed again. Something that I saw within my mom, Mr. Whitmer, and a lot of people who have helped me in life. So he ensured that I had everything that I would need for the next level. I found my first guide on the Paralympic stage. His name is Jerome Avery. And so he had took everything that Mr. Whitmer had done and made it into his own, and we worked together. We actually met, I'm gonna say about a month before the 2004 Paralympics. So I flew from Raleigh, North Carolina, which is where I'm from, out here where I am now to San Diego for a pre-games training camp, which that's pretty normal. They always have a time for the athletes to come together and train as a team before we head out to whatever major international competition that we're going to. So Jerome and I had about 3 weeks to prepare. We hadn't met each other before. He hadn't worked with anyone who was blind or visually impaired before. And a lot of things, or a couple things happened. Number one, in order for us to kind of expedite that learning process, I had to tap into the skills that I saw out of my mom and Mr. Whitmer. And that is, what can I do to make his job easier and to make him feel comfortable? The more that he knows in terms of how to assist me on and off the track, the better this will turn out when
Right.
it comes to us in a high pressure situation.
I love that
So
approach, Lex, because I don't think it's a really common thing for people to say, I'm going to make my new coach or my new boss comfortable. And that
Yeah.
was something I always tried to do. Whenever I got someone new, I immediately sent a welcome message. Hey, if you need to know any politics or if there's anything I can do to help make your job easy, let me know.
Mm.
And that always started us off on a good foot. But you're so smart to recognize he needs to feel comfortable and confident so you can do your best.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. I mean, you meet someone who can't see anything. Like that is, I can only imagine what that feels like from, from that side. You don't want to say
I've
the
had a
wrong thing. You want to,
responsibility,
yeah, you want to learn how to help them. You have a lot of responsibility, especially when you're talking about standing on a runway and
right?
there's like 100+ feet in between the two of us. You want to make sure that this person is as comfortable as possible. So that was one of the first things that I did, and on his side, he really just opened his mind and became like putty,
Love
like
it.
Play-Doh, if you will. Like let me learn as much as possible because this is a new situation. I can use my track and field knowledge, and then that would be him talking. So he had been competing in track and field for many of years. So he had a lot of knowledge that he could pass on to me, someone who had only been in the sport for about 3 years. Now, I remember him also going into the infield of the Olympic Training Center's track, and he put the blindfold on that I'm required to wear. So when we compete in the long jump, they require us to wear a blindfold to ensure that everyone is on a level playing field.
Ah,
He put the
interesting.
blindfold on and attempted to run around in the infield just so he could get some sort of inkling as to how things might be working from my end. And so
I
I
love
think
that.
that that helped him to see that, all right, well, since I'm working with someone who literally cannot see anything, it is going to be my job to paint the most vivid images possible of what is going on so that he feels comfortable. Now, I told him that, I was able to see at a certain point in time. So I have a reference as to what certain things look like. So he was able to take that and
Sure.
run with it. All right, Lex, at this runway, it's about 3 feet wide and we have 110 feet in between us. The board looks like this. The stadium looks like this. On either side, left and right, you have
Mm,
cameras about 10 feet away. I'm going to make sure that you don't run into those things. Just listen to my voice. If I tell you to stop, slowly stop. You don't have to do it abruptly. So we really created a game plan before each
yeah.
competition and painted that image for me so that I could feel like I could see it just as much as he could.
Well, and the amount of intuition that you probably have now from setting up those things. I mean, Jerome's been with you for how many years now?
Well, so Jerome and I worked together the first time from 2004 until 2007. His skill set is better suited for athletes who primarily sprint. He comes from the sprinting world. His fastest 100-meter time is 10.1 seconds. So
Holy cow.
he's like really, really fast. And we had a lot of athletes coming up at that particular time who needed a guide. So we decided to kind of split and allow him to use his skills to help them achieve their goals and aspirations. He also knew another friend of his. They grew up together. His name is Wesley, and he's been my long jump guide since 2007. Wesley has, and
Oh, nice.
but after Tokyo, which was 2021, Jerome and I decided to start sprinting together again. So I sprint with Jerome, but I still compete in the long jump with Wesley. And
Oh, that's
Wesley and I've
great.
been, yeah, we've been working together for 16 years.
That's amazing. I love that you have that relationship where you
Mhm.
can really rely on different people for different skill sets. And that's
Yeah,
just such a good metaphor for life and how people
yeah,
work together. You can't have all the same expectations for all the same people. And
totally.
the fact that you gave him the space to do what he needed to do, I think is really beautiful. And obviously you've been set up well by the people around you. So you talk to a lot of companies and you get hired as a keynote. And what are some of the reasons why companies hire you? I mean,
I,
obviously, it's a great story of resilience, but what else?
yeah, I think a big part of it is being able to transcend beyond what your eyes see.
Mm.
There's so many things that are, going on in the world right now. It's challenging. Companies are, dealing with this and dealing with that, and the economic status, and just a lot of things going on. And so me coming in there and helping them get a fresh lens, looking at things from a different perspective, and hoping to kind of reinvigorate the employees and get people's minds moving again, and understanding that there are alternatives. There isn't just one way to get to a certain end goal. And so I have a slogan or mantra, which is no need for sight when you have a vision. So
Mm.
at the end of the day, it's not our eyes that ultimately determine success. It's our ability to, number one, see a vision, and to not just see it, because just because you see something doesn't guarantee you success. You see the vision, you develop a plan, you connect with the right people, and you do everything in your power to bring that vision into fruition. And of course, within that, we dive into the relationship that I have with my guide. A lot of company success is it hinges upon your ability to work together as a team.
Yeah.
And over the years, we've experienced ups, we've experienced the downs. We've had to sharpen trust, communication, problem solving, strategizing, all of the things that companies are having to deal with in their journeys as well. And so I always try to make sure that there's some really strong ties and parallels to, you know, what we are doing as athletes, because I think it's a really beautiful illustration as to how companies can look as well.
I agree. And there's a reason I have so many athletes on this podcast, because there are so many metaphors and analogies for triumph over struggle, or resilience, or how to look at things differently. Or, I've had Siri Lindley, who's a world champion triathlete. She had never seen a triathlon. She watched one for the first time. She was in the throes of depression, horrible place in her life. And she's like, I'm going to do that. And in 6 years, she became a world champion.
Yeah,
So a little longer than what it took you, but still like
yeah,
pretty amazing to see
it
these kind of
is.
moments of triumph. And it's really something I love to share. So you're an author. Is that also what your book is about? What you just shared, what you speak about?
That is, yeah. So I did. So I wrote one about 3 years ago, and that one is called Fly. Find your own wings and soar above life challenges. And that one was more of like a leisure type of read. If you're 10 years old, you can read it, get something from it. 60 years old, you can read it, get something from it. And I told myself that my next one, I wanted to be a little more intentional and identify the person who I wanted to speak to specifically. And so this one is called, it actually came out last month, No Need for Sight When You Have a Vision, of course. And the subtitle is What Blindness Can Teach Us About Risk and Leadership. So taking a
Oh,
lot of experiences and stories from life and pulling from those things what I believe would be, gold
oh,
for
Lex,
for
that is
leaders.
so up
Yeah.
my alley. I want a copy.
Oh yeah, I got you. Just send me an address. I got one in the mail for you.
I love it. I love it. I feel so lucky we have so many authors on the show, but I think that is such an important message for
Mm,
everybody to understand. And, one thing I really try and teach is you don't have to just manage people to be a leader. You can be a leader at any stage of the game. And there were so many jobs that I had over the years that I had big teams of people. They didn't report to me from an HR perspective, but
mm,
there was no question I was leading that team.
mm.
And you have to create the environment for people to want to work with you.
Yeah,
And if you're a total jerk, it can go choose to work with other
yeah.
people.
Oh yeah.
So you
Yeah,
have
I
to,
mean, I just like
yeah.
even within the book, one of the analogies I love music a lot, and so
Mm.
I was just trying to convey that in this team, in this journey of leadership, I think that you understand, musically speaking, sometimes you might be the drums, and sometimes you might be the flute, sometimes you might be another instrument, sometimes you might need to play your instrument a little louder than others, and sometimes you understand that you have to bring that volume down a little bit. But when you understand that, oh, okay, like this is the instrument that I should be at this particular time, and I need to allow this person to play a little louder at this particular moment in the song, you understand that, oh, when we work collaboratively and we bring all of these instruments together and we're on the same beat, the same metronome, we can make the most beautiful song ever. And and I just feel like, not only as we think about leadership, but just in life, like that's huge. And just to circle back to the pure athletic side of things, when we're sprinting on the track, I don't think a lot of people understand that, number one, the athlete and guide are connected. So you
Mhm.
have the athlete who's blind, of course, the guide is directing them on the track, and they're connected at the hand by what we call a tether. So like a new age three-legged race, but you're connected at the hand. You're coming out of the blocks or from the start line together. You're running in sync. The best athlete and guide combinations, if you look from the side, they look like one person because their strides match, their arm swings match. But the interesting thing and the most pivotal part of the race is the finish. The reason being is because the athlete has to cross the finish line first.
Right.
If the guide crosses the finish line first, it's an automatic disqualification.
Oof.
And so when you think about it from that perspective, the guide, the person who's helping them, they have to be, a lot of people think just as fast, but the guide really needs to be significantly faster than the athlete so that they can run the rounds easily and that they can verbally communicate with that athlete along the way so that they can get to the podium. So they're doing all of the work. They're training with the athlete. They're also training outside of that time with the athlete so that they can be at the top of their game. They're lifting the weights, they're watching their diet, they're working with the mental performance coaches, they're getting adequate amount of sleep, doing all of these things. And when it gets to the competition, they are running alongside someone, and at the very last second, they have to let the athlete cross first. And
Wow.
so I think that, again, a lot of times as we work together in business, you have those folks who, I want to get across the line first. I want to take the credit.
Right.
But in a lot of situations, I wouldn't say you will understand. We hope that people will see and understand that sometimes it's not your race to win.
Well, and
You
it's
have to do,
also
yeah.
such a great example of, I watch leaders sometimes be very conflicted about stealing the spotlight.
Mm,
And,
mm,
someone on your team does a great job. They're like, well, if I don't talk about
mhm,
myself, no one will know it's my work and they'll steal it. But the
mhm.
right thing to do is to share the spotlight because it reflects on you.
Oh yeah,
And when you lift that other person up and you say, this person deserves all the credit because they've done the work and I'm going to let them share the story, it makes you a generous leader. It makes you, the person that are like, I want to work for them. And it's
yeah,
the same selfless act that you're describing. But God, what rigor and what commitment your guides have to commit to do this for you. It's not like help somebody who's like, no, you've got to have a whole athletic career right alongside
yeah,
you. That's
yeah,
impressive.
yeah, yeah. Now I heard Jerome say it in a doc that he did a couple years ago, and he says, he used to be a little conflicted by that because he comes from, like, he was an individual athlete himself.
Sure.
And he said a lot of people, we know Batman and we think about him, he's amazing. He said, but don't forget that Robin was a superhero too.
Right. Oh, I love that. So you are training for Paris for
Yes.
the next round of Olympics for you. And what is your training regimen like right now?
We're out there Monday through Friday. I usually leave my place around like 10:30, head down, grab a little bit of food. We'll begin to warm up. And to be honest, the warm up is probably the longest part of the workout itself. So we're warming up, I don't know, 30, 45 minutes. A lot of that is made up of talking about, a recent streaming show that's popular or the latest and greatest album. And then once we get to the actual workout itself, it could be anywhere from, it could be like 20 minutes max. But in those 20 minutes,
It's
it's stop
intense.
and go, stop and go.
Yeah.
It's pretty intense. And then we'll go to the weight room, get our power cleans in, squats, box jumps, all of those things. So we have coaches who develop those plans for us. And I would say that from the time that we start, which is usually around 11:30, we'll get done around 2:30. So you're hitting it pretty hard for about 3 hours. And Wednesdays are more of a kind of active recovery, low key type of day. So you're breaking up that Monday and Tuesday,
Yeah.
Thursday, Friday rigor that you've gone through. And Saturday and Sunday we have off until the competition season starts because a lot of track meets are on the weekends.
Well, Lex, my nephew is a big swimmer and he has a real good shot of going to the Paris Olympics. So if I
Mm.
go, I'm going to find you.
Oh yeah,
We're going to have a cocktail.
that's
But
amazing. Yeah.
yeah, it would be phenomenal. So tell me what inspires you?
I think what inspires me is being able to take something that is in my mind, an idea, a thought, and being able to bring that into fruition. I think that a lot of the challenge for me when I had lost my sight was that I couldn't see anything anymore. And there's a lot of things that exist in this world where eyesight is said to be needed in order to achieve it. And at an early age, I believed that. The one thing that I learned is that everything that has been created, everything that will be created, it always starts with a vision. You
Mm,
see it within yourself, you see it within others, and you have the power and you'll learn that you can tap into the tools and resources to bring that into reality. And so I told myself that it doesn't matter whether or not you can see. The only thing that you need to do is see this idea, this thought, this vision, tap into the power of imagination. You've hit on a lot of the things, the resilience,
mm,
being vigilant, being diligent, persevering, all of those things are important. And where you currently stand right now in the beginning, that vision seems like it's miles and miles away. It seems so far. But when you begin to tap into your abilities, the power of others, the skills that exist within us internally, when you discover that those things live within you and you go after that vision with all of your heart, mind, and soul, that distance between where you are right now and where you believe your vision to be, it gets smaller, 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 to the point where you can literally reach your left and right arm out and you can wrap your arms around whatever it is. It's
mm.
not in your mind anymore. It's physical. You can live it, you can see it, touch it, breathe it, taste it. And that's what inspires me.
Oh, I love that. All right, I always ask this question. What would you like your legacy to be?
Mm, I would like for my legacy to be if people were to sit back and they were to watch it on the screen, I think it would be the power that we have when you resist the societal norms and the often inaccurate views of what we can do, where we can go, and who we can become. You drive your success. Like it doesn't matter what other people say. There's a lot of perceptions out there in the world, but it doesn't matter. Resist that and go after what it is that you see for yourself.
Oh, well said. Well said. So, Lex, how do people find you?
You can find me all over the place. I'm on all of the social media, the Facebooks, the Instagrams, Twitters, TikToks. Everything is LinkedIn as well. Everything is my name, Lex Gillette, Lex Gillette like the razor, GILLETTE. And my website is lexgillette.com. So,
Yeah, and we'll flash all those up here, so no worries, people can find you. But I have to tell you, I was so excited to have you on the show today, and you did not disappoint. You have such a remarkable story, and I just feel so, so lucky that you came on. So
oh no,
I'm
I appreciate it.
rooting
Thanks
for
for having
you.
me on.
It's my pleasure. I'm rooting for you. I will be watching you, and I just can't wait to see what you do next.
Thank you so much. Oh, and what's your nephew's name? I gotta keep be on the lookout for him. Pun
His name
intended.
is Patrick Salmon, and it's
Okay.
Sammon. We say he's like a fish, but
Awesome.
yeah. So he's at ASU right now, being coached by Bob Bowman, who is Michael
Oh,
Phelps's
that's
coach.
the goat right there.
So
Yeah. Oh yeah.
he's doing great. So we're
That's
pretty proud.
serious.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well,
So
I'll be rooting for him as well.
You're the best. Well, thank you so much, Lex. Guys, stay tuned for more episodes of Heartbeat for Hire, and I'll be bringing you more phenomenal guests like Lex. Take care, everybody. Thanks for listening to Heartbeat for Hire. If you like what you hear, I'd love it if you'd subscribe and leave a 5-star review. To keep the conversation going, you can find me on Insta or at LinkedIn at Lyndsay Dowd, H4H, or you can reach me at my website, heartbeatforhire.com. Thanks so much. Have a great day.